All right. I believe we are live on the YouTube interwebs. For anyone who wasn't able to make it here live, really live with us, welcome everyone to our daily success call, power up, whatever we're calling this. It is Tuesday, June 8th, 2021. Almost half of this year is gone. Look at that. I'm excited to be here with you. We got some new faces here joining us today. Welcome. So glad you're here. I have had a chance to meet with many of you in our live welcome sessions. Okay, so I'm really appreciative of that time that we get to have together, kind of getting you on board, understanding, what's going on, and where can we find the materials that we need to get the job done that we're here to do. And so a very on-purpose group that I've been meeting lately, and many new students. So again, if we're just meeting for the first time, if this is your first exposure to John Lavenia, buckle your seatbelt, because we're going to have fun. We're going to get some stuff done. And I was just meeting with a group this morning and telling them, as good as this looks on the outside, it's 10 times better on the inside. And if you haven't discovered that yet for yourself, keep showing up, because this is blowing up right before our eyes. You're all definitely in the right place. That being said, I wanted to take up a little topic that, if you guys were on here just before we went live, Christina and I were having a little two-way comm going there, talking about one of the things that I brought up in our in that recorded welcome video that you got to see from me. Hopefully you all got through that, where you filled out your profile, you ordered the books, you scheduled your live welcome session with me, you got access to these calls, right? So there's a lot going on. But one of the things that I mentioned at length in that video is the daily method of operation. Daily method of operation, DMO for short. Okay, now I'm not attached to the titles. You can call it your morning routine. You can call it a DMO. You can call it your battle plan, like whatever empowers you, right? So that's fine. But the point is to have a plan. As the old saying goes, if you fail the plan, you're planning to fail. And so the idea that's coming up for me today, and I know that sounds cliche, right? Planning to fail. Okay, that's a bit condemnatory perhaps, but okay, does it hold water? Is it something we could use to further ourselves? And I think yes, I think it is. Here's where my brain is going with this here today. None of us come into this or any new opportunity, any new field of endeavor, any new field of study. None of us come with already existing habits of effectiveness as it relates to that admittedly new field of endeavor or study. Hence, the need to create some order in our mind and in our calendar when it comes to doing these new things. Now, I quoted before, some of you recall, I quoted Albert E.N. Gray, who was a big shot in Prudential back in the 1950s. And he said that the common denominator of success for anyone who's ever been successful at anything, not just here in Prudential or in your company or whatever, but anything, okay, here's the common denominator. According to Albert Gray, he said, successful people have formed the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. That again sounds a bit accusatory, perhaps. Like, oh, well, I don't like doing these things. Well, guess what? Nobody likes doing these things per se. Okay, some people have more of a proclivity for this or that. Okay, but when it comes to developing new habits to get new and higher results, right? And that's what's driving all of this. Nobody showed up here just because you're bored or something. I hope not. There's more entertaining things that you can do than, do this, right? This isn't about entertainment. You came here with a purpose, right? And because of that purpose, you are willing, as a successful person, you are willing to subordinate your preferences about pleasing or unpleasing methods, because you've got a purpose, yes, goals, reasons big enough for you to start developing new habits of effectiveness, which are not necessarily, ordinary or comfortable, right? I mean, learning any new skill. I remember when I first started working out in the gym, and I like to relate subjective things to objective things. I like to see, here's the metaphor for that, right? We can see in the physical world how that also works in the internet world, right? So here's a physical world metaphoric example. So I went to the gym because I was a skinny kid and I wanted to get big and strong. And I was taught how to lift heavy weights until I can't lift them anymore. And to show up and do that every day. And to do different exercises every day to hit different body parts and muscles and everything else. And guess what? It hurt. It hurt, especially if you haven't been in the gym like ever or in a long time. Oh my goodness, you're going to feel it. Leg day. Leg day is my favorite day. You know why? Because about a day and a half to 2 days after leg day, if you haven't been doing it for a while, you're going to know that you did it. Oh my goodness, your legs are going to be lit up. Anyone who's had that experience knows exactly what I'm talking about. So this was uncomfortable. Why would I do such a thing? Because I wanted to get big and strong. Now, if no intent, no new action, and no new habit, right? So I subordinated my preferences about pleasing or unpleasing methods. This is unpleasing in terms of a method. It is uncomfortable. It is painful. Well, guess what? I developed a habit around that. And behold, right? Big and strong. So how bad do you want it? I guess is the question that comes up, right? And are you clear about what the end result is going to be should you choose to commit yourself to a particular course of action? We got to get clear about that, right? And we're going to be working on this stuff together, not just here in these forums, but as you all go through the accelerator process with your accountability reps, you're going to be getting more clear on some things, right? A lot of times people come to like an online business or educational program with hope. Let's say hope. Now hope is pretty thin, right? Hope is like the on ramp. It's kind of it's better than sitting there and being apathetic, right? Why bother trying? Nothing works, right? So that's apathy. That sucks. Okay, so hope is like way up from apathy. Okay. And then from there, you start to build a belief. You kind of go up the ramp there and you get a belief. Ultimately, you get to a point of knowingness, right? Total certainty, right? But hope could be the on ramp. But it's vague. Hope isn't a strategy, right? But if that's where you are, all right, hope for what, right? Let's start to crystallize that. Let's start to see in advance a little bit. Let's hit fast forward on the videotape and let's start to consider, here's some things that actually could be my reality. If I just do like Albert Gray said and develop some habits of doing things that I wasn't doing before when I was previously failing at this particular action. Failing meaning not even showing up, right? So that also counts as a failure, we could say. I didn't even know this stuff existed. So therefore, how can I be successful at it, right? So we're going to go from a state of total non-existence or not knowing this, or we could call a zero statistic, to a better statistic, a much better statistic, right? Well, what is that statistic? The money, how much money, right? The time freedom, the travel, whatever it is for you, right? Let's start to crystallize that. And then we can start getting out of just hope for actually expectation, right? Belief, and ultimately a knowingness. But let me digress now back into what we're doing here. And as it relates to not just me or Christina or anybody else, right? As just one unique case, because we've all got this. We've all got to do, as Napoleon Hill said in his classic book, Think and Grow Rich, overcome that procrastination. He said, procrastination is an enemy that virtually every man must conquer. All right. So how are we going to do that? We're going to do that by making some decisions in advance. We're going to create some order in our mind and in our calendar. I'll tell you what, I have pissed away so much time in a state of indecision. I'm talking about throughout my life, looking back and seeing, oh, wow, yeah, that year went by. What did I accomplish? Indecision is the enemy. Maybe, right? Or I'll try, or, this and that, or maybe one or the other, or I'm not sure. I've often said maybe is crazy, right? You want to get into a decisive mode, yes or no, which we're saying every day, right? To every opportunity that comes our way, yes or no, right? Hey, you want to go watch kitten videos on YouTube right now? Sorry if I keep leaning on the kitten videos, okay? But I think it's a pretty gross example, right? Easy to observe. Okay, very good. But hey, John, you want to get distracted? Yes or no? Hey, John, you want to do this income producing activity? Yes or no? And when we make decisions successfully, we pretty much, there's two questions that we can ask ourselves, and we can do this consciously or unconsciously. The first question is, will this decision this potential action, right? Will this move me in the direction of my goals? Yes or no? And if the answer is yes, the second question is, will this decision violate the rights of others? Yes or no? And those are really the only two questions, right? If we're going to be decisive, if we're going to form habits, if we're going to have definiteness of purpose and definiteness of decision, here's what successful people do. They ask themselves those two questions. Is this going to help me fulfill my goals? And is this going to violate your rights? If the answer is yes, and then no, there's no third question. We take action. That's how we overcome procrastination. Decisiveness. That's how we overcome that enemy that virtually every man must conquer, right? So now what does that look like on our calendar? So if we've created order in our mind, right? So we've become decisive, we're out of maybe. Yes or no? Yes, income producing action. No, distraction. Okay, yes, no, no maybes. Okay, or as few maybes as possible. Now we know what to do. Now we know what to do. The reason why indecision destroys so much time and productivity is because you're sitting there in a state of mystery about what to do. I mean, think about it like this. Let's say that somebody came to you and said, look, under one of these 10,000 rocks, there's a $100 bill. And you can have it if you can find it. And so you think, oh, okay, maybe I'll take a shot at, or maybe that one. No, that's not it, right? And you'd probably do 10,000 rocks, right, for $100. And maybe you get lucky, maybe you don't. Maybe, there's that word again, maybe. I don't like that word. Okay, so maybe, and maybe you find the money, probably you don't. You got other things you got to do. You got to go live your life. We're just talking about $100 here anyway. And who knows, maybe it blew away. Maybe somebody else already found it. Maybe. Same exact scenario, 10,000 rocks, $100 under one of them. And by the way, it's the one with the chip in the top that you'll easily find. It's like got a big chip right out of the top of it. Go have fun. And you run through the road. I see the chip, bam, $100, done. Done. My favorite four-letter word, right? What was the difference? Certainty, knowingness, decisiveness. I am looking for the one rock with a big chip taken out of the top. Totally different experience. Decisiveness, knowing what you're looking for. Okay, so let's take this order that we just metaphorically induced in ourselves and let's put it on our calendars. What does that look like? And Christina, you're welcome to come out here. Everyone's welcome to come out here. I'm going to stop talking here in just a minute, and I would love your feedback or your thoughts, your questions, whatever. Okay, so here's my calendar, and I've got all this white space on it, which is going to be consumed by something. We all have a certain amount of attention. Think of it like, here's your bucket of attention. Good morning. Here's all the attention. You get to spend it. In fact, you have to spend it. You can't save it for tomorrow. And you will put this attention on whatever you put it on. And it's the same amount of attention that everybody gets. It's 24 hours worth, right? So we can either plan to fail or we fail the plan, right? So we can be proactive now. We could say, all right, I'm going to spend this unit of attention on my morning quiet time, meditation, visualization, call it whatever you like, getting focused on my goals, reminding myself why I'm showing up, what I'm going to be trading more of my time for here as I go throughout my day. So that we're going to go ahead and spend that right now. We're going to invest that. And we know that we have because we have predetermined that we are going to, because we wrote it down on our calendar. I could tell you in my world, if it's not on my calendar, it doesn't exist. The only reason that I show up here every day is because it's on my calendar. I got the link. I know where to go. I know what to do. There's no maybes about it, right? And it's predetermined. The decision is already made. I do not have to decide again. Some people ask, John, why do you almost always wear a black polo shirt? You might have been wondering that yourself. Well, here's why. It's one less decision I have to make throughout the day. Remember Steve Jobs, right? Apple, right? It was always like a black turtleneck and blue jeans. Like he had a whole wardrobe full of black turtlenecks and blue jeans. I was like, you know what? That's a good way to overcome decision fatigue. I mean, how many decisions does this CEO, by the way, you're a CEO of your business and your life, right? How many decisions do you have to make before like 7 o'clock in the morning? Well, here's one less that I have to make. And I could be wearing anything on the bottom or nothing. You can use your imagination on that. But I'm just telling you right now, you see John in a black polo shirt. One less decision. that I have to make, or a decision that I've already made, already decided, right? So, and sometimes you'll see me in my gym clothes, right, with a Harley T-shirt or something. But typically, this is like the uniform, so to speak. Okay, great. And do with that what you like. So I've got this thing. Here's my morning, quiet time. Okay, great. Here's my study time. These are resourceful things, right? We are developing habits of doing things that failures don't like to do. Why is it that most people, once they graduate government schools, whatever, don't ever read a book again? Why is that? They didn't like reading books. They were forced to read this crap that they were handed in school. It wasn't fun. They had to give reports on it and everything else. None of this was usable in their life, right? What am I going to do with this? Catcher in the Rye, nice prose, I suppose, but what? Now what? Now what? How's this going to affect me in my life? By the way, that's coming from an author, right? So I lacked appreciation for some of the stuff that I was forced to read. Oh, you want your life to work? You want to learn about, personal development and how to be more productive and to become a leader for yourself and for others? Well, here's a book. Oh, okay, I got to read again. Okay, well, guess what? I formed the habit of doing things that failures don't like to do. The late Jim Rohn said, unsuccessful people have big TVs. Successful people have big libraries. Now, you can have both. I got a big TV too, okay? I hardly ever watch it, but and that's just for movies and stuff. It's not like I'm sitting around watching the best of the worst of the best, whatever they're playing these days on Netflix or whatever. But so you get the point, right? Is that we're developing a habit of doing something resourceful and actually modeling others that have done it, right? So we don't have to be in a mystery about this. Oh, reading is good. Leaders are readers. Yeah. Okay, good. Let me do that. And so you've made that decision. It's on your calendar. Exercise. I already brought up one example of it, right? So there you go. Is that on your calendar? Can you do that? So when Gail or Asia or Christina or Andy gets up, 5, 10, 20 minutes early, an hour earlier, right? Which is uncomfortable at first. Successful people are developing the habits that failures don't like to do. Okay, so we're going to get up a little earlier. And by the way, morning could be whatever morning is for you, right? Let's say you're doing night shift or something. So morning is 6 o'clock in the afternoon. Okay, fine, right? I don't care what the clock says, right? It's all relative, based on your reality, your day. Okay, did you get some exercise in? And maybe, you didn't have quite as much time as you would like to have to do the full workout. Oh my goodness, hit the deck and do 50 push-ups or something, some jumping jacks, anything, right? Get the blood moving. And then guess what? You could chalk it off as a done, right? Oh, look, high integrity action. I just did it. Like one push-up is infinitely better than 0 push-ups. Infinitely better. Give yourself credit for that. Look at how much integrity you have. My goodness. And then what? Was the fourth thing I talked about in our welcome video was do some income producing action. Again, overcome the inertia, get something to it done, something perhaps you've practiced avoidance in that area, something distasteful, something you'd rather not do. Well, let's go ahead and get it off our mind, right? Let's relieve ourselves of the considerations about, oh, I still got to go do that thing. Great, it's already done. I don't have to go do that thing because it's already done, right? So, and this could be something directly related to business. It could also be other high integrity actions that perhaps you've been inconsistent with. All of this comes down to holding yourself to account for just doing the things that you said that you were going to do to reach the goals that you determined for yourself are worth reaching. That's the whole story. The whole story. Earl Nightingale said that that success, his favorite definition of success, is the progressive realization of a worthy ideal. Therefore, anyone who is deliberately taking action toward a self-determined goal is in that moment a success because they are progressively making more real something worthy that they've determined is worthy for them, an ideal, which you may never completely fulfill, right? Although, right, you can definitely make progress in that direction. So what is your ideal? What's worthy of you showing up? Hopefully you've got some answers for that. And then you're willing to sacrifice. And what does sacrifice mean? It means giving up something of a lower nature to gain something of a higher nature. You all just gave up kitten videos, at least for the time that we're talking, right? Fantastic. You gained something of a higher nature. And if this, lights your fire, turns you on, gets the light bulbs going, whatever, then you can just very objectively look at yourself and give yourself a command. Again, we're talking about accountability. We're talking about discipline. Give yourself a command. You know what? I tell me that from now on 6:30 in the morning, I do this. Okay, fantastic. And when you write it down, you put it on your calendar, decision made. Decision made. Case closed. No more debate. And you do it, and it's going to be uncomfortable. But just like how Elrod talks about in the Miracle Morning book, right? Even if it's just, 1 minute on each action. So now you did 7 actions. You got up 7 minutes earlier. Okay, then you can make it 2 minutes on each action. You can grow, again, on a gradient, right? You can grow it. Okay, so don't feel like you need to leap tall buildings in a single bound. Habits beat heroics, my friends. Habits, right? That's what we're talking about. Habits that you deliberately put in on yourself. You're putting that technology, you're putting that habit, you're putting that action in, which is currently out. You're putting it in to your program. Accountability. And look, a lot of people don't necessarily like that word. It's closely related to the R word, which usually gets people running in the other direction. Responsibility. Oh my goodness, responsibility. Okay, so accountability. We've all got an accountability rep. A lot of you may have thought that you were going to be doing this alone. I just signed up for this online, business tutorial deal or something. I'm just going to watch the videos. Just me doing it alone whenever I feel like it in my free time. No. As easy as it is to do the right thing, it's even easier to just not do it, right? So we've solved that problem for you. You're welcome. It's called accountability reps. And they are going to call you every day or text you, or you can call and text them. Everybody should have each other's numbers and all this kind of stuff. Plus, you got me here with you every day, right? So it's kind of like, wow, they're going to drag me kicking and screaming to success, whether I like it or not. And you can interpret it that way. But we are committed to having the experience that you came here to have. Otherwise, none of this stuff would be here. Here's your friggin' course. Good luck. Go do it or not, probably not, right? What percentage of people, does anyone here ever heard of a guy named Bill Phillips? Body for Life. I know Bill, we did an event together. We were down in, where was it, Cancun. Anyway, I was standing on the balcony in his suite. We were at the Ritz-Carlton and we were talking before he was going on stage. And we were talking about this challenge, right? He had this fitness challenge, right? You could sign up, you can win a Lamborghini, right? And get fame and fortune and all this kind of stuff. And he said, John, do you know what percentage of people complete the challenge? Not win, okay, but complete the challenge that they signed up for? I said, what percentage? He said, 2. You were really close. 2. And I thought, well, that's interesting. 2%. Wow. And then I thought, well, of course, 2%. Of course, right? I mean, in any endeavor, right? How many people are attempting to make a living on the internet? Hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions, right? With COVID and everything else, right? You can't even show up at the cubicle if you wanted to, right? Or the restaurant or whatever. Okay. Well, are you part of the 98% or part of the 2%? Well, that's a decision you got to make. But I'll tell you what, you keep sticking around with us and with your accountability rep, and you go through that accelerator process and you go through a business launch strategy session, which we're all going to do once you get through that process, you're going to be part of the 2%. Oh, yeah. Yeah. It's not going to be comfortable. That's not what you signed up for. That's okay. Would you rather have, back to Albert Gray, right? Comfort or develop the habits of doing things that failures don't like to do? Guess what you won't be anymore? A failure. Not that any of you are labeled that in my world, right? Just the fact that you're showing up here. My goodness, that speaks volumes. If everyone who needed this conversation was in this conversation, there's no technological platform that could house it. All right? This is for people who want it, not for people who need it. I know that sounds kind of drill sergeant, doesn't it? I should get my corncob pipe and boots, but that's okay. You can see it in your own mind. We just want you to win. So here's the thing. I said I was going to stop talking, and believe it or not, honor that commitment. Your accountability reps, which you should all know who they are, you must be in contact with them today. They're either going to call you, you're going to call them, something's going to happen. Just reach for this. Just reach for this. There's a saying that the squeaky wheel gets the oil, right? So squeak, and just know that, like I kind of opened up with, that as good as you think this was on the outside, it's 10 times better on the inside. You deserve to be on the inside. Any imaginary, wall or line of demarcation between you and who you think these special, successful people are, that wall has to come down. You're an insider now, says you, or not, right? But do not separate yourself from that 2%, okay? Because you have full license and full expectation that you can cultivate right now that you're the next top earner in this whole deal. I am here to make a spectacle of myself. Watch me now. Here I come, right? By the way, that's really good stuff. If you've had naysayers in your life, does anyone have naysayers? Just me? No? Yeah. Let's go ahead and prove those naysayers wrong. I mean, that's kind of, that's not the main motivator here, but it's a motivator, and it's a valid one at the outset. Okay. So let's go ahead and let's make our mark. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and stop talking. We do have a bunch of people here with us. And Andy, by the way, Andy, I thought I saw you on my calendar yesterday. It was a different Andy. We got so many members, Andy. So I hope that you are. Do you have an accountability rep, Andy?
Yeah, lovely Gail.
Oh, lovely Gail. She's lovely.
She's lovely, isn't she?
Yeah. Make sure she gets you everything you need. All right.
Yeah, tomorrow I meet with you.
Okay, very good. Very good. Oh, well, I'm glad you got a spot because I'm booked a week out at this point. It is insanity over here. Very good. Hey, Robert, I see you're unmuted.
Hi.
How are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Man, I'm awesome. Thanks for asking. Did you have a comment?
No.
Oh, okay. I saw you unmute your
No.
mic. You're certainly welcome to come on down. All right. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead, Robert.
I just want to say thanks. I'm enjoying these calls. They're very motivating.
Well, thank you, Robert. I'm motivated. I never know what I'm going to say until I hear it come out of my mouth, but it's always good reminders. I need reminders too. Sometimes, Robert, I read my own book and I think how profound I was when I wrote this. This is really good. Let me go ahead and read my own stuff. I do that about once a year. So thank you, Robert. So glad you're here, my friend. Anybody else want to talk? Commence talking. And by the way, as I've alluded to, or as I've mentioned a couple of times, this group is going to be growing exponentially. So we've done this again and again, and we have found that this will grow to hundreds of people. But you guys are among the first to have access to this. So just cherish the moment where it's nice and quiet and everybody can get a word in if they want to, because it's going to be mayhem in here. All right. Anybody else? I see Tani and Marty, Mandy, Kim. Good to see you, Jamie. Anybody else? Christina, did you have anything you wanted to add before we wrap up based on, because you kind of prompted me on this whole topic. Was that of use for
I just
you?
want to echo the comment of, it's very inspiring and motivating for sure, having your calls. So appreciate that very much.
Okay, great. Do you have some clarity perhaps on where you're going with the whole, morning routine and all that?
Yeah, definitely. I'm like, I'm already like an overachiever and I don't watch TV and I'm always like learning and reading and doing stuff like that. It's just, I probably put too much on my plate. And I think that for me, like really, like I put everything in my calendar too. If it's not on my calendar, I forget about it. I don't remember it. But I think even putting in the calendar, like an hour just to work through the modules here and get through the course is like, it's important too, as much as showing up for these calls and getting through the accelerator process, which I really didn't even understand when I signed up that this is what we were getting. So like I said to my accountability rep, this is better than the course. This is for me, like more valuable. Like the course is like, it's a course and it kind of can be boring, right? Going through it and just doing the modules and stuff. But this is what kind of keeps you going. And that for me is really valuable.
Right. Well, thank you for that, and for that acknowledgement. Yeah, this is really about people. And as you've heard me say, more important than what we do is who's doing it. So this is really about you. So thank you for recognizing that. Yeah, you're the biggest piece of this puzzle. The data exists for anybody, right? Here's the internet. Anybody, any bozo can show up and do internet stuff, right? Who's doing it? That's my question. All right, my friends. Thank you, Christina. Thank you all. We'll be back here, same bat time, mañana. In the meantime, make it an awesome day. You absolutely deserve it. Get with your accountability reps, and I will see you again real soon.